everyone, welcome to Chinese Culture Chats. I'm Hu 老师.
And I'm Zhiming. Hu 老师, I've noticed that in China, the order of people's names is opposite from ours. The surname comes before the given name.
You're right. That's a major difference between Chinese culture and Western culture. In Chinese names, the surname comes first and the given name comes second. For example, my name is Hu Xiumei. Hu is my surname. Xiumei is my given name.
Mm-hmm. And also, since I've come to China, I've met so many people with the surname Li. Why is this such a common family name?
That's a good question. Li is one of the most common Chinese surnames. In Chinese, surnames are called Xing. Li is one of the most common Chinese Xing. This surname became extremely widespread in China during the Tang Dynasty, which was founded by the Li leader Li Yuan and ruled by 20 emperors with the surname Li. During this period, the royal surname Li was granted to many generals, officials, and their clans. Like Li, many Chinese prominent surnames such as Zhao, Qin, and Qi are also the names of Chinese dynasties or ancient states in Chinese history. Now, the three most common Chinese surnames are Li, Wang, and Zhang. In fact, the people with these three surnames make up over 20% of the Chinese population. During the Song Dynasty, a book was written called 百家姓, literally meaning the 100 family surnames. The book was composed entirely of the surnames of important families at the time. The text, with 4 syllables per line, reads just like a poem. The first line is Zhao, Qian, Sun, Li. And the first character, Zhao, was the surname of the emperors in the Song Dynasty. And it is still a very common surname today. Li is the fourth character of the text. So there are so many people with the surname Li.
Speaking of 百家姓, this reminds me of a term that I've learned when studying Chinese, 老百姓. It seems like this term refers to the Chinese people.
Yes, that's true. That term originates from an ancient legend. Many years ago, along the plain of the Yellow River, there lived several large tribes, formed an alliance which consisted of roughly 100 tribes. Hence, the origin of this term. It is believed that this group of tribes eventually evolved to become the Chinese civilization. Although modern Chinese surname do not correspond with these ancient tribes, nowadays, the 100 most common Chinese surnames cover about 85% of the population of China.
It seems like there's a very rich history surrounding Chinese surnames.
Yes. What about English surnames? Are there any very common names?
Yes, there are some English surnames that are especially common. As we said before, in English, the surnames come after the given names. Like my surname, Rubenstein, is my last name, and my given name, Jeremy, is my first name. Another example is the name Linda Jane Smith. Linda is the given name, and Smith is the surname. So this surname, Smith, is one of the most common English surnames. It's not as common as the most common Chinese surnames, such as Wang, Zhang, or Li, but it is one of the most common surnames in England, Australia, and in the US. This surname, Smith, refers to the occupation Smith, which comes from the medieval tradition of taking an occupation and using it as a family surname. Maybe someone named Smith, in the past, their ancestors were either worked as Smiths or were servants for Smiths. Another very, very common English surname is the name Williams, and Williams comes from the given name William. Some other English surnames that come from given names are Thomas, Johnson, and James. So from these two very common English surnames, Smith and Williams, we can see two origins of English surnames, given names and occupations. These are just two of many different origins. I'm also curious about Chinese given names. Usually with English names, I can look at a person's first name and tell their gender. There are certain names that are traditionally male names and other names that are traditionally female names. Is this also the case with Chinese names?
Yes, we can often tell a person's gender based on their names. Chinese given names, which we call Ming, are usually composed of one or two Chinese characters. For example, just like this. This is one character, and this is two characters. And the meanings of these characters often express parents' hopes and blessings for their children. The characters in male names are often related to characters that are considered masculine. Some common male names include Wei, which means big or great, Qiang, which means strong, and Yong, which means brave, and Jie, which means outstanding or heroic. Some other common male names come from words for objects that embody these masculine qualities, such as Jun, meaning army, and Long, meaning dragon. The characters in female names are often related desirable in women. For example, many very common characters in women's name mean beautiful. For example, Li, Xiu, and Yan. Some other common characters in women's names include Ya, meaning graceful, Jing, meaning peaceful or tranquil. Besides that, names of flowers are also popularly used in women's names, such as Mei, meaning plum blossom, and Lan, meaning orchid. My given name is Xiu Mei. Xiu means beautiful, and Mei means plum blossom.
Oh, I see. So, since you're a woman, your parents gave you the name Xiaomei. They wanted you to be as beautiful as a plum blossom.
Exactly. So, what are the characteristics of English names?
So, from these Chinese names that we've looked at, it seems like Chinese names are written with characters which are familiar to everyone. People see these names and they know exactly what they mean. This is different from us. We can look into the history of English given names. For example, if we look at the name David, we can learn that it comes from a Hebrew word meaning beloved. Or if we look at the name Nicholas, we can see that it comes from an ancient Greek word meaning victory. However, in everyday life, we see names such as David and Nicholas, and we don't imagine specific meanings. We just think of them as people's names. So English names are much less closely linked to specific meanings than Chinese names are.
It looks like there are similarities and differences between Chinese names and English names.
And also, it's very interesting to study the history of names in both cultures.
I agree. Well, I enjoy talking about Chinese names and English names with you together.
Me too. So that's all about names for today,
Thank you.
and see you next week.